All right, welcome everybody to another Minecraft Musings. Um, was watching one of the hour-long one the other night because I've only made a few in that playlist, like a 20-minute one, a 15-minute one. Of course they're all rushed. I'm just like trying to get out all the info possible in the time. But actually, no, I'll put that stuff back. Sorry, I'm also doing some feng shui with my little village here, trying to decide how to landscape these things. I want to lower this a little bit, make it dirt. Um, Anyways, the realization I had was, aside from trying to make these things like kind of like a new type of Bob Ross, just like a almost meditative, like, you're watching the Minecraft, you're talking about society, you're trying to fix some problems, or just really sparking some debate, or sparking some thought. Because a lot of the stuff that I'm working on, it's really just looking at problems that we've been facing for a long time, and trying to look at it from a different perspective. So, which is the crux of computer science. Like when you're problem solving with code, um, that's one of the biggest things you're doing is you're trying to solve a problem, and if you can't solve the problem and you just keep looking at it and you keep thinking about it one way, you're supposed to get up, walk around, go talk to a rubber duck, and try to think of the problem in a different way. Also, I kind of want to. I mean, this is a bit extensive for a porch. You know, at least we could do like. Oops. That's exactly what I did not want to do. Kind of like that. Anyways, so let's get into it on this fine Saturday morning. So the other day I made those videos, and I was really trying to stress the importance of not misinterpreting what I was trying to say, because if you take it at face value, oh, Christianity is wrong. It's been wrong this whole time. Well, not necessarily. I'm just pointing out that we don't have any proof or evidence of religion being correct in the last like 2,000, 3,000 years or whatever it is. So that's why I'm just a little more skeptical about it. I'm not saying that it's wrong. I'm just saying that I'm not going to put all my eggs in that basket. So, also I need some wood. Anyways, and that's where a lot of our problems arise, is from misunderstanding and miscommunication. And see, that's the main point I'm trying to drive home, is like you can still, we still have a lot of other stuff we can. Oh, so anyways, and the alcohol thing. The alcohol thing is like the biggest. I don't know. To me, it's like one of the biggest revelations. It's like, wait a minute, maybe we were misunderstanding this the entire time, and I really think that. Like, I really think that um, the "this is my blood," argument was not how he intended. He didn't mean to be like, "Hey, drink alcohol and everything will be merry," because it's quite the opposite. Of all the things that we use to recreate with, alcohol is just, well, it's just quite blatantly bad. I mean, and of course you don't want to hear it too. Like I remember growing up, like that was the worst thing, is like, just being lectured on how alcohol, you got to be careful with it, but they couldn't really say much about it because it's legal. So it's like you can buy this at the corner store, you can buy it at gas stations. We're trying to legalize buying it at like kids' bar mitzvahs, like not really, but that even at bar mitzvah people are getting loaded. And it's just been that way. People don't really understand why we drink like that, and why we carry on so frivolously with alcohol, when especially anybody who has any experience with marijuana, like, or cannabis as they're calling it now. And it's funny, and I'm kind of okay with it, but at the same time it's annoying, because anyone who knows about weed, I just call it weed or bud, or because you start calling it marijuana, like a Spanish name and all this, like, and no offense, definitely not trying to be racist or anything against Spanish. It's just, people already get angry at Spanish in America well, certain people, not all people, but there's already a problem with people speaking Spanish at, like, say, a McDonald's, or even with a Spanish accent, because people are pretty judgmental. Like, if you can't speak English, you have no business doing stuff here, and blah blah blah. And like people get frustrated when it's like, okay, but you could just learn some Spanish, and be more of a worldly person. Especially since the majority of like Central and South America speaks Spanish, and we're not even asking you to learn Portuguese. But I don't know. I think a lot of it is people need to travel more. I think if more people traveled to these other countries, they'd be a lot less concerned about, people speaking Spanish at their McDonald's. Like they'd just be like, oh, they're from this place, just like people with Texas accents are from Texas. And even that does bother some Coloradans, just because of the whole Texas Colorado feud on ski resorts and stuff. But it's not a huge thing. Like it's definitely not racist. Like I mean, well, slightly judgmental, but it's only in like good fun. It's not like demonizing someone like, oh, they're less of a person because they can't speak the English. Anyways, I digress. So that's been something that's bothered me for a long time, is like, Spanish isn't all that hard. Like, and I'm not talking about being like a Rhodes Scholar or whatever. I don't even know what that is, but like, I'm not saying be a scholar in Spanish and being able to dissect, works of literature in Spanish. I'm just saying be able to understand when someone with a Spanish accent speaks. Like just common decency. You meet them halfway. If you knew a little bit of Spanish, you could at least understand what they were trying to say and be like, "Oh, okay, I get it now." Instead of like kicking and screaming like a baby. That's what it is. And we get to these points where we revert to childish nature because we're frustrated, we're fed up, we're tired, whatever the case may be. Doesn't mean that it's right. Oh, like there's this meme I saw the other day on the Facebook. So it was a picture of an elderly lady, and she was like, "The way I acted in Joanne's Fabrics was not becoming of who I am," or something like that. It's like, "I apologize for my outburst in Joanne Fabrics." And it's like, you gotta imagine what kind of outburst happened in Joanne Fabrics. Like, she's there for like sewing supplies and just being a nice older lady trying to get her, her hobby stuff going, and then has a meltdown. And how big of a meltdown are we talking? Like already as a society, we've noticed like what the difference is taking away Black Friday shopping. Oh my gosh, Cyber Monday is the best because, well, A, things are cheaper, a lot more business happens, everybody's happy, but then nobody's getting trampled. And that's the other thing too, is like you got to remember the rest of the world is on the outside looking in at what we're doing here in America. And it's like, all they got to do is see one of our Black Fridays and be like, wait, they literally trample each other to death? Like they will kill each other over food, and not even food. Sorry, I misspoke. We're talking TVs on sale. We're talking, pleasantries, common conveniences. So yeah, that's where it gets a little ridiculous. Also, I think I am going to absorb that. I think I want to make. Yeah, yeah, let's go ahead and make it. Anyways, my point being is like even a nice old lady, can snap, and that's also a thing is like we need to grow up in other ways too. We need to mature in how we think of things too, because just because a person is a nice old lady or something doesn't mean that they're always nice. Like they might have, they're normal people too. They're not supposed to just turn into Santa Claus or Mrs. Claus with age. Quite the opposite. If you're going through all of these giant changes, it could be quite traumatic. Like, and that's the other thing too. Sorry. So let me back up a little bit. I work in IT and I specifically try to cater to people that are less technically inclined. There's nothing wrong with that. And often, and I've seen a huge commonality is people from different generations just approach tech differently. There's nothing wrong about it. It's just, and even, I got kids, in elementary school, and they're already doing things that I didn't even know about tech. And, and I've been studying technology since 2010. Specifically, I've been studying computer science since 2010. I started school back in 2009. I was going to be an electrical engineer, so I was already doing a bunch of like math and science classes. And either way, my point being is I've had official training from a university on how to handle tech equipment. And I've had official training in cybersecurity, like from also from CSU. And I've invested a lot of this time and money and effort into learning tech for the sole reason of having a good job, a good career, and making the world a better place. Like, well, so a few reasons. But isn't that why everybody works? At the heart of it all, that's what we all want to be doing. Whatever we do in life, whatever our job is, whatever brings home the money, we want it to be meaningful. Well, honestly, in my opinion, there's nothing more meaningful than tech, and I'll explain why. So, tech is like the final frontier of human accomplishment, human achievement, human capabilities. So, we already know that, okay, maybe not like the final frontier, but it's the final one that I can point out easily and say right now. Because everything else, every other industry, everything, like, even rocket science is almost like easier to be familiar with than tech because we've had rockets this whole time. You can go buy a model rocket. You've been able to buy model rockets for a long time. You haven't been able to go and buy a personal computer, at least not willy-nilly. I remember even when I was a kid, my family had a gateway computer, and this was like, I think I was in like fourth grade, fifth grade. And that's how long it took until my family got just a computer. And and I grew up having some very rich friends across the way, and their family had a computer, but their dad also worked as a computer salesman, or he worked at a gateway store. So that was kind of like part of where their fortune came from. So let's see. Anyways, I digress. But the importance with IT is you're trying to teach people skills that they didn't necessarily grow up doing, and skills that are already much easier for even children nowadays. So it's a big slap in the face. I don't care who you are. If you're like a professional, wait, am I going to be getting the? So I need to not dip down just yet. Sorry, I'm also trying to get that beehive. We're gonna make it an underground beehive. I'm also gonna get some grass too. Anyways, so my favorite part is like walking someone through a problem and seeing them understand it, seeing them actually start to make sense of it and be like, oh, that's what's going on. Because it's really not magic. It's not, it's definitely not rocket science. And it's not as complicated as a lot of people like to think it is. However, all it takes is one simple roadblock. you know you got to hit one snag, and if it's the right snag and you're just like, all right, whatever, I don't want to deal with this. I haven't had to deal with this my entire life. Why is it becoming a thing now? Why do things keep changing? Why can't things stay the way they were the good old days? And, that whole thing. And I get it. I mean, like, okay, another good example. I used to be really good at video games. Just be able to pick up a video game and just clown on people, just like beat them really bad. Same thing. My kids, since they've grown up with tech their entire lives, they're already getting to be as good, if not better than me at video games. And they're not even teenagers yet. And it's like, it's a lot of parents' dreams to be better at their kids for a while and then teach them the ways, help them become better and stuff like that. And it's like, well, they're already there. So what do I focus on now? Well, a lot of things. And that's why, part of why I obsess with this. I was interested in cybersecurity my entire life. I just didn't realize it. I didn't realize what white hat really was. Um, and really, that's just putting a name to it. I've been observing and trying to help people and trying to lead. Like, we all grow up trying to become good leaders. You do organized sports to get good sportsmanship or good athleticism. See, there's that thing again where, we're just so used to calling it policeman and, businessman and, human is what our intention was. And that's actually one of my underlying concepts of cybersecurity is our, I hate calling it gender labels, but that's basically what they are. It's basically labels for identity. And we've just been doing it because for the longest time, well, okay, let me back up a little bit. So, human, that's been a big thing. Like, human was supposed to be what we really referred to everybody as, but that was just awkward. So we just call him man. But wait, men are men. A man is a man, of course. So, again, it comes down to communication and how we use our English language. Like, just like, what were we just talking about? The blood. Like, my body is bred. my blood is wine, or this is my body, eat of me. And see, that's the thing. It's like people only remember about a tweet's worth of knowledge or information in most quotes. So when, and that's assuming that Jesus even said that, or Jesus even existed. See, none of these things we can actually like prove without a reasonable doubt, like we would try to prove something in the court of law. Like we would need to have like birth records, death records, dental records, like all these different identifying documents that just didn't exist around that time. So that's why I say, like, yeah, he could have existed. He could have not. He could have, had rainbows coming out of his eyeballs. Like, you don't know. You really don't. Because no one was there, and we don't have any way of recording that history. I mean, until we invent, like, time travel, if we invent time travel, because that just sounds like a whole can of worms that we really don't need to be messing with anyway. But, I digress. My whole point is religion needs to be taken with a grain of salt because it was written at a time when we didn't really have history. This was the beginning of history. Written records, in fact, and I've said this in the other videos, cuneiform tablets, the kind of wedge-shaped writing was one of the earliest forms of writings that we found. I believe it is the earliest. It's been a while since I've had a history class or an art history class. We addressed it there too, and I think in basic history we talked about it as well. But either way, civilization. There you go, Western Civ. I know we talked about it there because the whole basis of Western Civ, or i.e., all of our history that we really, that we're more concerned about than other histories. Not that we're not concerned of other histories, mind you, but if you live here, you should probably know about your history. So that kind of whole thing, and that also ties into the whole binary bias. And I know I'm blurring a bunch of concepts here, but let's talk about binary bias real quick. So it is the idea of what is black and white. Literally, it's pointing out that a lot of people live in a gray area or an area in between two extremes. In fact, we kind of call it a dirty word, calling someone an extremist, because they are so far one way or the other that they seem extreme or out of the ordinary or even possibly dangerous. So, and usually when you hear extremists, you think like a jihadist or something, because that's how we've been conditioned to think. But what about someone that wants to start a new oil business and wants to invade a country to sell oil? Isn't that a little extreme? Did you kill somebody for that business? Like, and that's the thing. It's like, we need to reel in capitalism a little bit, not all the way, but, oh, whoops. Actually, we need flowers for these bees. Okay. Sorry, I want to get some dirt too. But anyways, what I'm trying to say, let's go ahead and plant some of these flowers back. Oh, I need to get the flowers. Sorry, so binary bias to avoid being extreme. And what I mean by that is like not everything's black and white. In fact, things are rarely black and white. There's so much that needs to be interpreted, understood, other factors, other parts of the story, like anything at face value could look one way and then be another. That's the whole reason we have like murder mysteries and like crime dramas, like, and we have to have our twists and turns and our M. Night Shyamalan or M. Night Shyamalan, whatever, the weird dude that makes the movies. Not weird, but the creative person that makes the movies. Anyways, I digress a lot because communication is important. And I know I've said this in one of the older videos, is like, one of my favorite classes was communication technology. I thought it was a waste of time at first. Not a waste of time per se, but like, as far as the things that I was doing, I could have been spending my time learning more computer algorithms or more engineering type things, but I didn't even realize that that was one of the most important parts of technology anyway, is communication. And especially with my degree was communication for the business strategy for a company. Like, you're talking about how to afford a budget of software engineers that costs insane amounts of money, but you need to pay them because they have these skills that, and it's actually kind of sickening now, that are becoming commonplace. I'm even teaching my own kids how to write Python code, and it's like, again, not even teenagers, and they're already learning how to program. Not stressing it a lot because I don't want, them to miss out on their childhood, but they want to. They get excited. They're like, They're learning. Just like how I remember being a kid and being excited to learn, jump on the yellow school bus with Miss Frizzle and, go into someone's body or like go into space or all those cool things that they used to do. Yeah. So the amazement and the wonder of learning before it gets all muddied up with like, okay, yes, that's true, except for here, here, and here. Oh, and definitely here. And there's all these exceptions, and it's like, wait a minute. When did things get so complicated? Well, communication. Communication. And that is changing now that pretty much most of the world speaks English. And I know that's really messed up, but it's just the way that it's the way she goes. So, and I did. I recently traveled to India. I traveled to Dubai. I'm going to be doing a lot more traveling for my job. I'm going to be going all over Europe and Asia and the Middle East, and it's going to be awesome. But the first thing I noticed was everybody speaks English that deals with English speaking people. Now, they might speak multiple other languages and they might revert into those other languages while they talk, but at the end of the day, everyone that I encountered, or at least everyone that I encountered, or they either spoke English or they knew someone that spoke English. So regardless, I was taken care of. And which was a relief because my first time traveling internationally in like, I want to say like 20 years. So I was a little nervous. I was like, oh man, I'm going to be like, because I remembered last time when I was traveling, back in the day, I had to learn Spanish and I had to learn it enough to not seem too foolish. Like, of course, they knew that I wasn't going to be completely fluent. I wasn't going to sound like I was their neighbor. Like, they were going to tell that I was a tourist. But I at least made the effort to try to show respect and be like, hey, thank you for having me in your country. I'm going to try to speak your language. Well, that's no longer the case. I mean, by all means, you should still do that. Like, you should still try. And I do know some Arabic. I had roommates from Saudi Arabia in college, and they taught me all the best words in Arabic. And by that, I mean all the swear words, just like I taught them in English. But, kids will be kids, and that was college students at the time. But, anyways, I digress. I still wanted to show some sign of respect, or even apologize, saying, I'm sorry, I only speak English, but, my bad. Like, I should know this or something. I don't know. It doesn't have to be like that severe, but just don't act like you know, um, pompous. There you go. Try not to be pompous. And it's hard not to be. Like, even just being grateful that they're speaking English kind of seems like what a white thing to do. Like what an American thing to do. Sorry, because even, white is not even a really distinguishing thing, just like black isn't. I mean, you've got Canadians, you've got British, and everyone's mixing. Like, every country's becoming the melting pot. Oh, and real quick, that was kind of always something interesting for me is we call ourselves the melting pot and we pride ourselves on being like multicultural, but then at the same time, only the purists and are they really American and all this, and then it starts getting into some ugly territory. But anyways, it's all sneeches with stars upon ours is the way I see it. Like, that's all any of those differences are. Because at the end of the day, the only differences that matter are how you communicate. Or actually, no, that's it. How you communicate. Do you take the time to understand? Do you even care about looking at other angles? Like, basically, it's time and patience too. Because a lot of these issues going on right now, like let's just pick one out of the blue, abortion. If people took the time to actually communicate and say, hey, this is what I'm actually talking about, we could figure out some solutions. Specifically with abortion, like, and I'm in the camp where a lady should choose what she wants to do with her body. It's her body. I mean, we got people piercing their faces and getting snake tongues, and I'm a little more concerned about stuff like that. Still concerned, not gonna say, hey, you can't do that. Just maybe ask them why you're doing that. But as far as what they want to do with being pregnant, that is not my fight. Like, that is not my argument. I mean, I'm sorry. That's one of the sexist things I will do is like that is totally a woman's decision what she wants to do with her body and her baby at that point. Or her forming baby too. I'm not trying to argue one way or the other. However, if you take the time to think of another solution, like problem solving, you could be like, oh, well, let's just do better healthcare. You know, let's meet in the middle. Like, let's just say that Jesus exists and he's very upset when you abort a baby. Okay, well, What do you want to do about it? You can keep complaining, which a lot of people tend to do without any actual solutions, or you could be like, okay, well, wait, would Jesus be offended if you had hospitals and birth control? And here's the kicker. I know that, well, okay, I don't know what Jesus, even if he exists, but I can tell you that the Catholic Church approves of most contraceptives. I found that out because my co-parent is heavily Catholic. She grew up Catholic. So, and still practices. A lot of her family still goes to church, and that's totally fine. That's their God-given right. And even if God doesn't exist, that's their right to practice religion. And I'm nobody to say, hey, that's wrong. I'm just saying, hey, I don't subscribe to that. Not all the way. I grew up Methodist, so, and I don't practice by any means now. Um, I don't knock it, but that's one thing I really loved about my church was like there was a lot more common sense going on there. Like when we talked about like the flood, for instance, Noah's Ark and all that, we just kind of glazed over it because we even admitted it sounded silly. It sounded like Aesop's fables, and that's all my Sunday school teachers and then my later um, uh, fellowship, the church folks. Nobody tried to push that garbage down our throats like, oh, like Noah built an ark and all the animals two by two fit on there. No, that's nonsense. Just stop. Like, if you're trying to make that sound like a real story. However, if you're trying to make it sound like a fable, something to learn from, then yeah, by all means. That's what the book is supposed to be. It's supposed to be a guidebook for human life, for human living. And that's all we ever saw it as. Like, we didn't think that, oh, Eve was really made from a rib. In fact, I remember my Sunday school teacher would roll her eyes and be like, that's the story, but, believe it if you want. And they would say stuff like that. And it's like, just instilling that bit of, and I really honestly think that that's what some of the Bible was meant to say. And trust me, I don't enjoy talking about politics and religion a lot. It's just, those are the last couple of prickly things in conversation, like things that are uncomfortable to talk about. So let's disarm the situation. Religion. Really, unless you get into like Baptists, Catholics, like the more, I think Jehovah's Witnesses, like all these, I almost want to say like fringe Christianities, because they're not like, I don't know, like Catholicism is like the main branch of Christianity, right? Like it's the main one that always has been, since the beginning of religion. But many have branched off from that, doing all sorts of different things, trying to do like, I think it's like either the Latter-day Saints or the Jehovah's Witnesses, they don't celebrate birthdays. They don't celebrate holidays. Like and that always seemed weird to me. But then as I got older, that almost made sense too, because even Christmas with the buyer's remorse, or not buyer's remorse, it's like the gift giving remorse or the implicit contract that you just filled by giving a gift or receiving a gift. No, I'm not describing this the best. Hold on. It's the inferred obligation of receiving a gift. There you go. So when you receive a gift, you are now receiving an obligation. Like, wait, did you give them a gift? And if you did, how does your gift stack up to theirs? Like, is it as nice? Did it cost as much money? Does it matter if it costs as much money? And these are questions that we've been struggling with for, as long as I can remember. Like, Christmas is an awkward time because and a lot of times people are just glad to be done with it. Like they love the Christmas season, they love the getting of the gifts, but then it's like, oh no, now I gotta worry about like, did I give a good gift or was my gift just trash? Like, are they gonna be upset when like 9 times out of 10 they're not even worried about what you gave them? They're worried about what they gave you because they're feeling the same way. It's like, crud, did I give a good gift? And it's all this. And it's funny because I really honestly think a lot of religion, and I say all religion, we're lumping Islam in there too, because I started reading the Quran and talking with my Saudi buddies that were Muslim. They practice Islam. And it was like, when they explained things to me, it was like, well, that makes total sense. I mean, it's basically a lot of the same stuff. Be kind, don't kill each other, like, treat each other with respect. They're still working on the women's side, and let me talk about that for a little bit. My Twitter is like a dumpster fire, but not even that bad. Like, it's not even the stuff that I'm saying. It's like, so let me back up a little bit. So I've aligned myself with the blue crew. I'm a lifelong Democrat. I've always voted Democrat. Doesn't matter though, because I still have a lot of friends that are Republican, and I believe a lot of the stuff that I hear them talk about. It's like, oh, that does make sense. I mean, when you say it that way, and that's the problem with our politics, is like it all kind of makes sense if you frame it right. And then, but then you got to be careful of the people trying to put a spin on it, trying to pervert law and politics and all that stuff, trying to bend it to their way to benefit either people they're working for or the other people that are like on their way out. And I don't know. That's why we just need like a mulligan as far as politics are concerned. Just no more, like we're going to just flush everybody out. Everybody gets laid off, and we'll start over because without the political parties. Because at the end of the day, that's what's really destroying this country is just how we argue about this nonsense. I mean, we're so quick to argue because it's buying votes. I'm sorry, I know I'm all over the place, and I am going to be putting together a code pen to kind of just like kind of outline these things. So if you wanted to be like, wait, what was he talking about here? Well, you can go look it up, and I'll start including a link to an actual kind of like guidebook of what I'm trying to accomplish with these videos. Basically, it's cybersecurity. If you're ever in doubt, like, what's this guy going on about? It's cybersecurity. I'm a cybersecurity professional, but this is what you would consider preventative maintenance or preventative problem solving. Like, we're trying to solve problems before they even become problems. That way, we don't have to worry about it or use the resources, the time, the money, the effort, the hardship, the headache, of cybercrime. Well, how do you stop cybercrime? You stop social crime. Well, how do you stop social crime? Communication. It's really that simple. Like, it's simple in theory, but then you got to practice it. So it's like, I don't know. It's simple, but it's not. And that's why a lot of people get caught up in the details. But if we all just sat down, took some time to communicate, and also realized that business isn't always, in fact, business is rarely moral. And I remember I took a whole business ethics class for my minor. Just to have that business administration minor, I needed to understand business ethics and what the law of business was. And of course, there's a bunch of boring stuff in there, like, you have so many days to fill out a response to a tort or, this and that. But I mean, the main points were try not to and see, like, I can't even tell you the main points because it's like there were a lot of other laws mixed in there with like how do you respect people's property, people's due process, people's, this and that. But then it's at the end of the day, like, does this make sense? And are people getting hurt? I guess is the big thing. Are people going to be evicted? Are people going to, and that's where we need to focus on. And we get all these movies, all these TV shows about, oh, the bank is stealing the house. Well, it's not like the bank went out and like, did this. There's several problems in society that lead up to somebody being evicted. However, the bank is the ultimate deciding factor, yes. In fact, I remember I used to play a Three Stooges Nintendo game. And that was like the whole point of the game was to save the house from the bank. And the bank was this big, mean entity. And it's like, well, yes and no. I mean, the bank is a business like any other business. They're trying to make money. They have workers that show up that they have to pay. And, they have to pay their employees to sit there at that desk all day and help people manage their money, withdraw, deposit, all that stuff. It's a whole job. But the people at the top making these decisions, trying to save money here, make money here, and maybe not necessarily looking at all the factors, leads to people getting evicted. Like, not my problem. You had this much time to pay, and on paper, this seems like a reasonable deal because why? Oh, because we approved this deal. So, of course, it has to be completely moral and ethical. Well, no. In fact, we saw that with the adjustable rate mortgage, the ARM loans. And what happened there is they adjusted the rate to something ridiculous. And it was like, but wait, you signed a contract. We can adjust it to whatever we need. And it might not have even seemed ridiculous in their eyes when they made the decision. They could have just changed numbers on a piece of paper, been like, okay, now the interest rate is this much because we need to recoup these losses from the market or whatever. Like, for whatever reason, or we just hired 5 new people, so we need to raise the rates. So now we need to get more money out of our customers that signed an agreement not knowing that this could be a possibility, but they signed it because we make our agreements so complicated to where either people read the entire thing and never sign up for anything, or they just start signing their lives away with like predatory contracts that I don't know. It's a big back and forth. And if you want to talk real business ethics, you would outlaw or ban a lot of the stuff that they do in business. Just ban it outright. Sorry, I gotta. Where did those go? Did I get the buckets? I got the one bucket. I think there's another bucket in there. Hold on. Wait, what else did I need? Come back here, you. Wait, did he just go down? Okay, well, there's a llama. I was gonna say, I thought I saw him walking over here. Anyways. Sorry, I try to get all this stuff, and that's why I have so many llamas, because I've just been playing this so long. I get all these things. I'll take those two, because then I can actually put flowers down. And also, your llama is mine. And I do need... There we go. Sorry. This is just a thing I do. Then I rally them all up here. I'm going to put them in the llama lounge. Like, I'm trying to be ethical with my llamas. Even though this is a video game, it doesn't really all matter. Who knows? One day the computers might rise up and they'll see stuff like this and they'll be like, all right, I remember him. He did this thing. So, now I'm kidding. I don't live my life in fear like that and try to do all that stuff. But that's a very good relation to why you shouldn't live your life in fear in religion, too. So, sorry, now we're back full circle back to the religious kick. Just because, like, yeah, business, bad, or can be bad, so we need to be careful with it. But religion, even worse, and here's why. Because entire wars have been fought, like the Spanish Inquisition. People have died and been conquered and colonized in the name of Jesus. And so, once you start saying stuff like that, then it's like, whoa, 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 whoa. This isn't what he wanted to do. In fact, I saw a tweet about this just today. Was like, Jesus didn't say go out and colonize all these people and spread this by force. Like, in fact, I don't even know where in the Bible it says stuff to like even do missionary work. Like, I feel like someone just took it upon themselves at one point and just like, oh, these poor deers, they don't have Jesus. Like, they're missing out. And then you come up and start trying to tell them this giant story and they're like, whoa, 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 crazy person. What about body being bread and fish and loaves and a flood and all these? Like, whoa, just chill out. No. I mean, and same thing with like native religions. You go to talk to some, and don't get me wrong, I don't know anything. I know next to nothing about native religions except for that it was a big concept here to live in agreement with the land, like live in harmony with the land. Only take what you need, don't overtake. And they were surviving and thriving here for a long time. Oh, and actually, let's back up. So politics. In order to buy votes, people have to stretch the truth and make lies to fit their agenda and their narrative. And what I mean by that is I literally just saw Trump the other day. And whatever you think about him, and I have a lot of friends that are his like biggest supporters. They love the guy. He started off a 2-minute speech saying, talking about American history when we tamed the Wild West. We pushed westward into like the wilds and the savages and just all these things. His exact words were something to the tune of, we expanded out into the wild frontier, the untouched. I don't even remember what the words were, but basically he was saying there were no natives. When that's false, we have proof, we have evidence that natives lived all across America. And even growing up, our history classes taught us that, oh, well, most native tribes were nomadic. They would wander from place to place. Well, doesn't that mean that they're still okay, I lived in this house on this block and then I moved to this house down the street. Doesn't that mean that I lived in the area? Like, just because I picked up my house and moved it over doesn't mean that I didn't live there. It just means that my house moved. Oh, so like trailer parks. Well, not even like that bad. Like, they didn't live in excess to the point where they didn't feel the need to have these giant sprawling cities. And I have to wonder if that wouldn't have happened anyway if we didn't interrupt. Like, if we didn't come over here and just completely take over wouldn't natives have evolved very similar ways to us? So that's what I'm saying is like we didn't give them time to really know whether one way or the other. Like they could have. We don't know. Well, the fact of the matter is we came over and we wiped them out. We killed an entire people. Nothing we can do about it now except stop lying about it. It was not the great Wild West frontier that was a big open. It was like an unexplored continent or an unsettled continent. No, it wasn't. There were locals here. We killed them, and that's the biggest problem right now. Like we learn about this growing up in school. You know, the Indians welcomed us on Thanksgiving. Sorry, Native Americans. And we called them Indians because we thought that we were in India, and we never corrected it because we never felt to give them the respect that they deserved of being actual Americans because this is America. Well, I don't know what it was called before we came, but you know, we should have called them what they called themselves. You know, it's a shocking concept, but we were so bent out of shape about a tax, getting taxed money that we totally killed people. Okay, and so there's I guess I really just want to drive that point home is we invaded, we colonized, we killed, and we converted, we did all these things, and we still consider ourselves the hero. Well, that's kind of messed up. If you were watching like the Planet of the Apes is a good like I've never watched it, but I've watched enough spoofs to understand like that ending scene where he realizes he's like, "Oh, we were on Earth the whole time. This was Earth. This wasn't some alien planet." Well, yeah, and you just invaded the people, just like if an alien came and invaded us, they're like, "Oh no, no, this is the great expanse. It was an uninhabited continent. It was an uninhabited Earth. We just settled it. We colonized it. Oh, there were some savages here. Okay, there were a few, but we brought him our, space Jesus, and we brought him our ways of life. Well, see how messed up that sounds? Be like, wait a minute, but my house is here. No, it isn't. Where? Where is it? Well, now it's in the ground because it's all destroyed, but there's evidence of it. Oh, well, who cares? Nobody's gonna listen to you. And we are moving on. We're walking. We're walking. You see just how easy it is to just swallow up an entire culture or people into history just because we didn't want them to exist in the first place. Oh my gosh, what is that? That was a lot of animals. The dangers of a pit. Okay, let's get some more dirt. So, anyways, that's what's going on right now, currently. I don't like Trump. I mean, he strikes me as someone who was born with a lot of money. He's going to die with a lot of money. His family's going to have a lot of money. And what are they going to do? They're not going to help anyone else get a lot of money. That's just good business. Like, they inherited a lot of money. They got to protect their assets and their interests. So they're going to do everything in their power to make sure that the wealth stays in their family and that they get to decide who gets it. So, and they get to see who, brown noses enough to get into their inner circle. And even then, there's no guarantee. And it's like, what? Why? For what? So, anyways, how long is this? Let's see. Oh, yeah. Yeah, we're going on a good 40 minutes. But there's my Saturday morning rant for now. Like, it started a lot more cheerful and it kind of ended on a pessimistic note. But that's just the fact of the matter is like until we start pointing out these things that are happening, they're not going to get fixed. Like people are still going to keep buying votes and keep turning each other on each other, and we're going to be so confused and not communicating. Because I do want to point that out. When I do talk to my friends from back home, all majority of them are Trump supporters. We have good conversations. We kind of get to the bottom of a lot of things, and they point out some things that I didn't know was going on, things that Democrats are trying to do, and it's like, well, I'd like to go investigate to see if that's actually what they're trying to do. Like, take this, just recently I saw AOC talking about Amazon moving their headquarters to New York. Well, okay. So they were going to get $3 billion in tax breaks. $3 billion in tax breaks. You want to talk about a country that founded itself over a tea tax or a stamp tax, of pennies on the dollar. We're talking billions of dollars now, and nobody bats an eye. Like, so that's right there. That's my main area of concern. It's like, wait a minute. We're talking in a much grander scale than even the founding of this country. And we waged war over a little tax, let alone 3 billion. Now, things have changed, and also 3 billion isn't quite the same amount it was back then, but still it's like we need to step back, think about what we're talking about, and be like, okay, wait a minute, does this make sense? And then it's like, okay, maybe not. And anyways, with the Amazon thing, they were going to get 3 billion in tax breaks. Well, AOC was saying we could take that 3 billion and invest it somewhere else, and people are arguing it's like, wait a minute, that wasn't money that the government had. That was the money that the government wasn't going to take from a company. Exactly. But that business is going to generate that revenue, and that tax is going to come from somewhere, and that tax is going to be paid to some state government. Colorado has a distribution center, and you betcha we get a lot of tax off of that. Like we make a lot of money because they choose to do business in our state. That's just part of like the cost of business. Now, we can talk about a whole nother issue of why we need to reduce taxes and yet still have funding for everything, or maybe reapportionate the taxes, or no, not reapportion. That's not even a word, but make it more proportionate. There you go. To the wealthier paying their fair share or even paying taxes. And see, that's the other thing. You and me, like the average people, we work, we get taxed on our income, then we pay taxes on things we buy. The wealthy that deal in stock markets and stocks and trades and all that, they don't actually pay a lot of taxes. Sometimes not even any. What was it? Trump ended up paying like a few $100s in taxes, whereas we pay a third of our salary. So right there, you should be upset. You should not be upset at Trump. Be upset at the laws that allow Trump to not pay taxes. Be upset at the laws that allow you to pay all these taxes. And that's where a lot of people get confused. It's like, wait a minute, doesn't everybody? No, Trump's not paying taxes. Granted, he's creating jobs, and that's the other thing. You can't completely ignore the fact that these wealthy business people are not creating jobs because they are. They're helping make this country great, but they're also sucking at the, like suckling at the teat of America, basically, and just like, it's okay. That's just a messed up analogy. Let's just forget I said that. But yeah, they're creating jobs, but they're also just sucking up a bunch of resources, tax cuts, write-offs, all these little tips and tricks to make it to where they don't have to pay any money, but you do. They made a job, and then you go do the work, and then you pay the money, and they don't actually do a lot of work. Like, and there's a big shift in, when you go to management from actually like doing the work. Now you're just managing people, making sure the people do the work, and then what do? Well, you make, you're the slave driver, the guy with the whip, like not nearly as bad as slave days, but you're the one standing at the helm, like, okay, do this, do that, do that. Did you do this? Did you do that? You may or may not be actually adding any value yourself. You're just keeping the people that are doing the work in line. So I don't know. That's where I like more businesses that are like equal share, that own stock in the company, credit unions where people are lending money as a group or as a community versus like some big faceless bank that makes these decisions that could possibly render people homeless at the drop of a hat. Like, no, it's people are taking the power back slowly, but we still have a long ways to go. So I don't know. The short of it is everybody's lying to a point. Whether it's just a little half truth, misleading info, all the politicians are lying because they want you on their side. In fact, what was it? I saw Biden talking the other day that, with people like Marjorie Taylor Greene, we're going to have a lot more people coming over to the Democrats. It's like, it's not supposed to be a race or like, you know, like granted, yeah, you get a couple of people acting all crazy on one side, might make people change their minds, but really not a whole lot. Like if your family's been Republican, your town's been Republican, like, they're gonna stay Republican or Democrat. Like people are very slow to change. What we need to do is just destroy both parties. Like there are no more Democrats or Republicans. There are just politicians. That's it. Sorry, not destroy. That's a little much. We should just dissolve the two parties. There you go. Peacefully, no violence. Everything that is illegal before still is illegal. Like, and that's part of that binary bias. Just because it's black and white, people want it to be one or the other. Otherwise, they don't know what it is, and that makes them uncomfortable. Whereas a lot of people in computer science specifically are like, I don't know what that is, and that's fine. I don't dare claim to know what that is because that could lead to damage and death. Like, if you say you know how to program an airplane and it falls out of the sky, that's on you. If your code failed, that's on you. So we don't take coding lightly, is basically my point of all that. I am gonna see. Don't. Oh, I put the dirt away, I guess. So Yeah, knowing when to just admit that you don't know. That's a big thing. It's a very mature thing too. Hmm. So I'm just thinking, just make it. I guess we could have like one brick be like the porch. No, not even. I don't like that. Just get the boom. Anyways, I digress. At the end of the day, we just need to take time, relax, really look at things, and just be willing to communicate, be willing to discuss these things because at the end of the day, we're all just trying to figure it out. And, the people that do fully understand this stuff, they try to argue it in ways that doesn't make sense to the common person. So then their argument just falls on deaf ears. And then the people that come in, the shysters that just want to like steal your vote or earn your vote, whatever they want to think it is, they come in and they trick you, they confuse you, they get you angry. Most of the time, they don't even know what they're talking about. And then it's like, even if they do realize that what they were saying was wrong, the worst they'll go is like, huh. And then they'll keep going and they'll keep trying to buy votes because it's a hustle. Like our politics has been reduced to like a bastardized little carnival show of freaks where it's like the craziest person will either swing the vote the other way or I don't know. But that's what our politics have become. Just a bunch of clowns, really, and they're trying to perform. They're putting on an act. They're trying to convince you to vote for them, and it's never ending too. My gosh, did you notice how we used to vote for a president every 4 years? Okay, and then now we have midterms. Well, we've always had them, but they've just started getting like ridiculous. And it's like, okay, we just got done with midterms. Now we're already talking about the presidential vote. It's like, wait, we just like, can we have some time where we don't talk about voting, where we don't talk about elections? And see, that's just it too. It's like we're constantly changing, so a lot of things are still slipping under the cracks. I mean, I'm sure we're actually rooting out a lot of stuff as well. I mean, it's not. Maybe that is why I had stuff stored over here. Sorry, I'm just like realizing I got a lot of stuff, so I'm gonna put all this right back. Anyways, it's a long road, long and arduous road to getting to where we can understand these things and we can actually start changing them. Or not start, like let's not pretend like we haven't been doing stuff, but what we need to do is we need to focus on what's true and what's not, like what are people doing. And really, if we could take money out of campaigning, that's the biggest thing. Just banning campaign money, no more donations, no more funding, nothing. You are no longer legally allowed to hold rallies. It is unconstitutional, it is un-American. Like that's what it should be. Now granted, if you want to go have a party and a shindig, go for it. But as far as like the actual politicians like holding these things and raising this money, like millions of dollars just for a party, and it's not even a fun party. These are aggravating, stressful parties in a country that has heart problems and cholesterol and all this. And we're out there trying to have these like shindigs for, and I don't even know what to call them. Yeah, rallies. They're almost as bad as Ku Klux Klan rallies. Not really, because, but at the same time, yeah, they are kind of killing people with stress. And they're driving a divide between people. They're ruining relationships, families, and blah, 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 and all that. And it's like, oh, but let's do it again in a couple years. Sounds good. And keep slapping stickers on our cars. Let's keep, yeah. Anyways, it all needs to come to a grinding halt. We could be using that money for. Sorry, the music's getting really loud now. It's like time to go. Maybe I should. Actually, I should just. Well, actually, whatever. I like listening to the music loud when it's just me. But, anyways, this is the end of the video. I'm just kind of trying to remember all the different things that wanted to talk about. I just need to do some more musings, but that's what these are. It's like a Bob Ross with politics and religion, and instead of painting, it's Minecraft. It's still peaceful, but we're gonna try to get down to the nitty gritty of things. And I don't know. And if you think you can say it better and do a better job on a podcast or a video or something, go for it. I mean, like a lot of my videos, my early ones especially, I walk through the steps of how I did them, like the little things to look out for, little corner cases, like well, specifically here, how you can be muted 3 ways on a PS5. Like, in fact, I can, yeah. There's a button, there's a couple of switches, places. Yeah, it's just ridiculous. But anyways, good luck. Go out there, be as white of a hat as possible. And for anyone who doesn't know, that refers to usually refers to someone in cybersecurity or a cybersecurity professional that works in ways that are law abiding and ethical. Now, a lot of people like to call themselves gray hats because they don't really agree with a lot of the laws. And while that's mostly true, I don't even know if I'd consider myself a gray hat because I live in Colorado where we have legal weed and we just legalized mushrooms. We still have a lot of alcohol, which is kind of a concern, but the more people start smoking marijuana instead of drinking alcohol, the more people are realizing, oh, yep, there's my timer. You got 5 minutes left on the recording. But the more people that start smoking marijuana instead of alcohol, the more they're realizing, like, wait a minute, this is so much better for you. It's so much less dangerous. I make such better decisions on it. Like, if you're blackout drunk, they have the hangover movies. I know I was talking about this the last movie or the last episode of Musings, where it's like, we've got entire movie franchises about how bad decisions people can make when they're drinking. Yet we laugh at it, but it's like, wait, at any point they could have driven drunk and slammed into a family in a van and killed everyone. And we're just laughing at this because, oh, the dude got his tooth pulled. Haha. Like, no, they were like out there belligerently drunk, like stealing tigers, like breaking into places, breaking and entering, like breaking laws and stuff. And it's like, I get it. It's supposed to be funny and it's supposed to be a comedy, but it's like, that's the reality for a lot of people. If you go to here in Fort Collins, I'm up in northern Colorado. Like if you go down to Old Town every weekend when the bars empty out, almost every night you see a fight. In fact, people line up. It's like a little mini coliseum. They're drunk. They're trying to figure out what they want to do. They're trying to figure out who they want to take home to go sleep with or whatever. Try to and get all rapey and make bad decisions that way, or become victims. And then it's like, oh, and hey, here's a fight. Like someone's gonna try to fist fight, and it's like, it's not okay. Like it's not good. I mean, and the poor cops, like, and there was a time where I was against law enforcement because weed was legal or weed was illegal, and I just didn't never understood why. And so I used to be with the NWA, be like, oh, F the police. But then it's like, except for these guys, and these guys, because they're my family and friends. But, the ones that would arrest you for a joint, yeah, F those people. And I still say that today because it's like, if a cop's actually going to put you in jail or, arrest you for weed, like they need to take a long, hard look in the mirror. And, like I can understand alcohol, yet alcohol's legal, but weed, nah. So, anyways, I digress. And this is getting nigh on the hour, but that's why I'm happy to be a white hat in Colorado because I do agree with them. Well, I don't agree with all the laws, but I'm not about to start breaking them because I don't agree. That's the kind of thing where I just avoid doing it. I don't even know any specific laws offhand. It's just, I know that illegal weed was the biggest one. It was like, I hated drinking, but that was what was acceptable, so I drank a lot. I wanted to relax after a hard day's work. I went and had a beer. Like, if I could have been having some bud, so much better. Oh my gosh, so much better. Like I wouldn't have a hangover. I wouldn't feel all tired and deteriorated. Like, it's just, and sorry, and that's just my experience. And I'm talking about many people, even Department of Corrections stopped drug testing for weed. Why? Because it's legal, first of all. It might be illegal federally, and you know what? The federal government's so out of tune with things anyway. Like they really shouldn't have any jurisdiction here to begin with. And I think they're starting to realize that. And more states are waking up to like, oh, weed isn't that bad. It's just we have so many businesses tied into alcohol. And sorry, yeah, I know I got running on the last couple of minutes here, but that's why we don't just make alcohol illegal. Is because we have too many businesses, too many people make their livelihoods off of alcohol, one way or the other. And I get that, but things can change, things have to change, and things are going to change. So it would be nice to be nice about it and try to get ahead of it and get most of those people new jobs, like in the marijuana industry. Just switch industries. Like it's a pretty simple way. But like we're talking breweries and stuff. And actually, my first job was a software developer for an alcohol distributor company. And that was the reality. It was like we had a lot of customers that had warehouses full of alcohol and soda too. Soda's another kind of bad one that needs to be on its way out. But anyways, and these things, it's because they're so entrenched in business that we have to do it. But anyways, now I'm down to the very last minute. So that's another Minecraft musings. I'll see you in the next one. And I think I'm going to just start doing this maybe once a week, once every couple of weeks, whatever. But what I'm going to do is go back in, remix parts of it, and make them into shorts, or just make short little videos like, "Hi, today I'm going to talk about why Jesus's blood isn't wine, and you should stop drinking so much alcohol," or something silly like that. But saying just that out of context sounds so messed up that if you don't have all the supporting information, it's kind of hard to follow. But anyways, that's my time. I will see you all next time. Have a great day.